Welcome back. The city of Cape Town seems to be at the forefront when it comes to getting to grips with the load shedding situation that the country is battling with. Now, the city's latest initiative involves creating power heroes. Businesses and, in time, possibly residents will receive cash for selling their excess power into the Cape Town's grid. eNCA's reporter Ayesha Ismail joins us now. Ayesha, good afternoon to you and thank you so much for joining us. This, of course, doesn't have anything to do with independent power producers. This is a completely different initiative, if I'm understanding.
Okay, yeah, so the Power Heroes program is actually aimed not only at big businesses, but also at residences as well. But at the moment, the businesses have signed up with the City of Cape Town, and this will then allow the City of Cape Town to automatically and remotely turn off appliances, for instance, and machinery that's not needed to be used at a specific time when the load is too high on the grid. And the City of Cape Town then also rewards people and in this case businesses for doing that. But I also spoke to an energy analyst at Green Cape who said to me that more and more businesses are actually starting to generate their own energy, and this is because they are seeing the benefits of doing so. And if more businesses start generating their own energy, obviously this takes the load off the national grid. This is what the analyst from Green Cape had to say to me earlier today.
The sector has really developed a number of options for businesses to procure energy that requires no capital investment from them. So, for example, we have what is called a power purchase agreement. The service provider will own the system, and you just pay for the energy that is provided at a reduced rate. One example of this, the recent example, is the Atlantis Foundry in Cape Town. That was a 14 megawatt size, so a really big plant, reducing their energy cost by 20%, and that is on a power purchase agreement. So they had no capital investment required. So there are a number of these mechanisms now in place that businesses should explore that allows them to procure and access solar energy and have an impact in the space.
Now, Ayesha, obviously this is due to the inability for Eskom to keep the lights on, as it were. We're now seeing a parallel economy where companies and residents alike are trying to make do of a rather bad situation. But tell us about the companies. Are they really biting? Are they taking up these offers to procure their own energy?
Surprisingly, a lot of companies are, and Cindy will recall and remember that a lot of companies suffered due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Maybe many of them closed their businesses. Some of them are only just recovering from that. And so it is quite expensive to have these solar panels installed. But because of the various options available to them, and also the tax incentives being offered and also incentives offered by the City of Cape Town, more and more businesses are taking up these offers. This is what one of the company's CEO had to say to me earlier today.
Yeah, that's right. So this is a multiple tenanted building. There must be, 20 companies that work here and maybe 100, 200 people that work in the building. And the solar installation at the moment, when the sun is shining, takes up all of that load. So between the hours of around 10 and 2, this building does not draw much from the grid, if anything.
And Ayesha, I'm sure a lot of businesses and residents would just want to have more sustainable energy available to them. So if these companies are able to put excess back into the grid, it sounds a bit technical for my novice mind, but nonetheless, how are these companies then putting the excess power back onto the grid?
So they have inverters, and these inverters then convert the solar energy into grid energy, and in that way that energy then goes onto the City of Cape Town's grid. And already some companies are selling their excess energy to the City of Cape Town. For instance, if you do not use your if you don't have people working in your business or businesses on a weekend, but your solar panels, you're still generating power, with that power you can put onto the City of Cape Town's grid. This is what this CEO of the Emergent Energy Company had to say to me about that.
Investment case is really built on generating your own power and then offsetting what you would draw from the grid. And then there's that added incentive of being able to sell any excess energy that you have into the city's network. So the City of Cape Town currently has a 3-year incentive in place where they actually add 25 cents per kilowatt hour in order to make that investment case a little more juicy. So yes, that's an added benefit, but the investment case is really grounded on offsetting your consumption, with export being an added benefit.
Have you taken up the option to put your excess power onto the city's grid?
We have multiple sites in Cape Town that are currently feeding energy into the network. Where that becomes viable is in an office building like this, where there's no occupancy over the weekends. What you have is a much lower consumption over the weekend. So during the week, you're making use of your own green energy, and then over the weekend, you're exporting your excess, which is usually 25% of your total generation.
And Ayesha, is this unique only to Cape Town? Because they do seem to have a little bit more autonomy when it comes to these kind of initiatives and not necessarily reliant on the national grid. Are we likely perhaps to see even this replicated in other provinces from those you've spoken to?
Well, both the two companies that I spoke to, Green Cape and also Emergent Energy, they are national companies. So I would imagine that they would be selling and marketing their expertise to other cities and provinces as well. But as you said in the introduction, the City of Cape Town, the Western Cape, we are at the forefront of really mitigating the impact of the power cuts and load shedding.
Ayesha, thank you so much for your time. And that is eNCA's reporter Ayesha Ismail talking to us about the initiative taken by the Western Cape province in providing alternative energy. In fact, also selling back the excess energy to the Cape Town grid. We'll watch that one very closely.